Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar. Unfortunately, Kay is unavailable to join us today, so instead you have me. I'm Annette Stewart. I'm an Associate Director of Duncan & Topless, working in the healthcare team. Today we bring you our colleagues from Castlegate, who are going to talk to you about all sorts of financial planning matters. Castlegate has been a wholly owned part of Duncan & Topless since 1994. And they manage and invest £400 million worth of assets and care for over 1,500 clients. They have their own central investment proposition, which is continually reviewed and balanced to ensure clients meet their financial goals. And they aim to help people gain more financial confidence and peace of mind through financial freedom and security. I'm joined today by Peter Wilson and Adam Thompson. Peter is the Managing Director of Castlegate and a Director of Duncan & Topless. Peter chairs Castlegate's Management Board and Investment Committee, and together with the team, is passionate about ensuring a strong, client-focused service. He grew up in a medical family with 3 generations in medicine before him. Peter has worked with GlaxoSmithKline and Pfizer, leading strategy in their healthcare businesses, and after a period working with Theresa May and the Treasury, where he helped to write the financial capability strategy, he joined an octopus-backed financial planning business, where he led innovation for legal and general investment management. Outside of work, Peter is chair of the board for MedAir, a humanitarian aid organisation. Peter also enjoys running, biking, playing music and sharing time and adventures with his family. Then we also have Adam, who will join us later for the Q&A session. Adam is a financial planner, advising in all aspects of both personal and corporate financial planning. Adam has a diploma in regulated financial planning from the Chartered Insurance Institute and is currently working towards Chartered Financial Planner status. Outside of work, Adam enjoys playing sport and is an avid cricket fan. So now I hand over to Peter, who will discuss all things investments and pensions with you.
But yeah, a big welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining this afternoon. I'm just going to, the main purpose really is just to give you a little bit about us and what we do and how we might be able to help you, what we do for others in your profession and sector. Healthcare is the second biggest segment that Castlegate serve, next to agriculture, which you'd probably expect in this region. So it's a really important segment to us, let alone from a personal perspective, as Annette said, quite passionate about serving healthcare in the best way we possibly can. We would say that we, like you, but not quite, perhaps as importantly or as urgently as you do, transform lives. We would say that we transform people's financial anxiety and invert that into a place of peace of mind and confidence about planning for the future. So I'm just going to give you only 2 or 3 slides on what we do and how we might be able to help, really with the purpose of potentially opening up some conversations with those of you that might want to discuss that more at length for your own personal situation, how that might apply. But we'll also leave plenty of space today with Adam, who's going to join us as well for questions, and do feel free to put anything in the chat and raise those as we go, and we'll come back to those. Any we can't answer, anything I can't answer, we'll then come back to in digital format of some shape or form. But yeah, who are we? So we've been around as wholly owned by Duncan & Topless. So we're part of that group. We sit within their buildings and have been there since 1994, as Annette mentioned. We look after around £400 million worth of funds under management, and that's made up of individual investments from lots of different individuals, families, businesses, own and managed businesses. And we therefore manage that on an ongoing basis to make sure that people are on track with meeting their objectives, their financial goals. We're fully regulated, as you'd expect us to be, and we're also a chartered company, which not many are, and it just gives us a little bit of extra reassurance, if you like, and credibility from a professional point of view. We've also, unlike many other financial services firms, have quite a really interesting mix of different advisors, both young, old, male, female, with lots of different areas of expertise and specialism. We have 9 in total, with a support team of over 40, and we're truly independent whole of market. So unlike some of the very big family names you might have heard, who tend to be more restricted in what they present, we can access the whole of market. And we have a full tech stack in the back to make sure that we are doing this well and professionally, but also serving you quicker and better through that technology. And lots of really interesting modifications coming out through that, as you'd expect, with the growth of AI and other means to help support you in reviewing. You can see the performance of funds and be able to then engage with us on an ongoing basis. The rest of those brands just on the bottom of the screen, that's just part of the group. So we're part of one of the biggest accountancy practices now across the UK, with Beavis Morgan and Kimbrook as well. So how can we help you, more importantly? And it's really interesting because there's really 3-4 sorts of areas, if you like, of protection, tax planning, and then cash and investment planning. And in each of those things, people have different views and opinions and perceptions and understanding of each of them. But in essence, they are really about protecting you financially for the future, so that you have a way of viewing the future and believing in the future for your own personal circumstances and needs as things change. So the protection piece is really making sure that if you're running a business and in a partnership, that you're protecting that revenue, that asset value, that potential exit strategy, whatever it might be, against potential loss. And that might be through partnership breakdown. It might be through other unforeseen circumstances that obviously do come along, as you will see in the day-to-day of providing healthcare for individuals too. So it protects for health, it protects for financial loss, it protects for partnership changes, etc. So there's various different aspects of protection, but protection is very important. Inheritance tax planning is something you've probably seen and read increasingly across news, particularly pertinent to the agriculture sector, but actually across the whole piece now, lots of different misunderstandings and confusions about what is actually going on, what the actual policy is, and whether there's any recent flip-flopping going on or not. What we can do in this case is really just apply that into your individual needs and say, well, okay, these are the boundaries and these are the parameters that you might be hitting or encroaching on, and therefore these are some of the things that you might be able to do to avoid some of those rumours and be able to plan accordingly, so that you can sit back a bit more and relax about the future and not worry about losing potential hopes and dreams through not planning ahead for inheritance tax. The cash piece is interesting because increasingly, this is quite new in technology terms, but there's cash platforms now that maximize lump sums of cash that you might have in a business. If you're, for example, using selling pharmacy products within the surgery, it might be that you have certain lumps of cash going in and out of that P&L on occasional seasonal changes and fluctuations. And it just means that you can maximize very easily with literally a click across a number of different bank accounts within one platform that maximize your interest, that you can still have access to, but it leverages the interest that you would normally only be able to access if you had locked it away for 12 months plus. So it's a really interesting way of leveraging cash and higher interest in that cash when you still want to keep it as cash, if that makes sense. The tax efficient investments are then where you've perhaps utilised and used a lot of your tax wrappers already, ISAs, pension, etc. And there might be other ways you want to look at investing in a tax efficient way. So venture capitalist trusts, for example, do that very well. They provide they're more in the higher risk end of investment management, but they do give you access to certain businesses, many who are investing into becoming unicorns, etc. Many household names that you'll be familiar with that have come through VCT packages if you like. EIS is the enterprise investment schemes, similar, but you're focusing a lot of effort into one or two businesses and protecting your tax from those products. And then, of course, general investment accounts as well, which will do the same across a much wider and more balanced portfolio. When again you've utilised all your ISA allowances. So they're just some of the examples of kind of the key buckets that we tend to look at. At Castlegate, we do have our own central investment proposition. So that means we do go out to the whole market, but we also have a very clear strategy on where we think we should be investing in order to make sure we're keeping you on track with your goals and your objectives. So that means we look at the market and we say, well, okay, based on your profile, based on your preferences, you'll have a risk appetite that might be very unique to you and different to others, which would mean that we could then map a different investment strategy for you. And that changes over time. For many people, it changes over time through life changes and life stages. So you can then be able to modify and change that as we go through annual reviews, or even more frequently as you prefer. But it does mean that you end up with a very clear set of goals. And rather than perhaps just sort of leaving it to chance or hoping that it's going to perform for you, you can make sure that on an annual basis that is tracking to what you expect it to do for you. It does mean that by setting those goals and those objectives, your partners and dependents, even future legacy, can be very rewarding. We see people really transform. We genuinely see tears of relief and joy in these moments where people just go, wow, I just did not realise I could perhaps afford that kind of lifestyle, which I wasn't thinking I could. Or indeed, maybe I need to sort of, I want to be able to have the pleasure of planning for that son or daughter's wedding, or the dream holiday, or whatever it might be, university fees, whatever it is. Whereas rather than just being sort of in a little bit of intrepidation about it, makes a big difference. We often see through the reviews on an annual basis as well that we can track that change. We can see how things are performing, particularly in very unpredictable markets like we've seen. I'll touch on that a little bit later as well in a second. But we've seen an extraordinary amount of change in this year, and yet sitting here today, we're at higher levels than we were back in February, March. So the market's recovered very, very quickly, despite a lot of doom and gloom during the sort of March, April period. So it is quite a robust way of investing and preparing for the future, perhaps more so than other investments like property and other things that can be more precarious with unknown costs. We do have a lot of tools that will help you on that journey. Alongside you, we work through sort of cash flow planning, visualizing position, putting everything that we want to expect for later life and different stages of different parts of life. So what does that look like? How much is it going to cost? What will we need? What kind of income will we look to have? So we can map all of that with some great tools that enable that, so that you can plan accordingly. And that, of course, allows us to navigate the tax landscape to maximise the best way of doing that for you. And then look at a whole host of different investment products to be able to bring that to life for you on an ongoing basis. The risks of doing that, of course, there's always risk associated, because the markets, as you know, do go up and down, as I've mentioned. But on the whole, you'll see it's pretty robust over time. And even through precarious times that we've had, we're still seeing an overall general growth. I'll show you a graph of this in 1 second before we finish. But it is reassuring to know that you can map and track on a regular basis to see how it's all doing, to see whether you're on track and whether things do need to change or not. And all of those things are taken into consideration, your attitude to it, the capacity you might have, and how that affects on an ongoing basis your dreams, your hopes, your ambitions, for all of those aspects, so that we can manage it appropriately and in a really rational and tangible way, so that you can feel more confident about the future. That graph, there it is. before I finish and open up for questions. It's interesting to see, we, if you look back, and you'll all be familiar with, 2008, the often most quoted one, because it's the deepest drop and loss, and yet actually in time, as we look back, as we reflect back, hindsight's a beautiful thing, but it is very short-lived compared to the periods of growth that you can then see, and the heights of those periods of growth that they do go to. And as I've mentioned again, more recently, we've seen the recovery pretty quickly, even in this precarious and unpredictable market, mainly driven by the US uncertainty. Won't mention any names, but you know who I'm talking about. And the interesting thing in the US as well, of course, is the stocks are very reliant on that technology sector over in the West Coast. And people talk about the Magnificent Seven, but it's extraordinary how much of that market, 25, nearly 30% of the total US S&P market, is driven by those technology brands, which have grown so rapidly to such an extraordinary extent over a relatively short period of time. I mean, 20 years or so. So we have ways of then balancing, reflecting that, making sure that we're not building in too much risk, but maximizing the opportunity that it brings at the same time. And we're constantly rebalancing and reviewing that within our own investment portfolio. So I'm going to be quiet now. You've heard me go on and speak. The only things to say is a big thank you for listening. There is a link to our website on there. You can also get in touch with us, of course, either through Kay or Annette or otherwise. So please do. I'll come out of this presentation now, though, and just stop sharing that screen and open up for any questions.
Thank you, Peter. That was very insightful about how we can help you plan for those happy days of retirement. If anybody has any questions, then please feel free to add them to the Q&A. Happy to take any. If we can't answer them now, we'll get an answer back to you. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to help you.
While anyone's thinking about those questions, one thing we get asked a lot, particularly within the healthcare profession, is what about the big question? What about the NHS pension? And we work with some specialist providers in this space as well, who will do all the number crunching. They've even been very effective at negotiating as well with the provider themselves on your behalf, so we can work very, very, very closely with them to make sure that we get a true valuation, and then give you the wider package of what that might mean and what you can do with it and what your options are. So that's usually very, very helpful for most people.
We see lots of clients have problems with their NHS pension. So getting your records correct, getting that information and ensuring your NHS pension is accurate is very important, and it's something we can look to help you with. We'll wait on for a few more minutes and see if there are any questions. We've seen many of our clients where we're supporting them through the McLeod issues. And many clients who have problems with their superannuation certificates, be it a salaried GP, be you a partner. NHS pensions aren't renowned for getting the information correct. So it's important that you have an opportunity to review the information they hold and to make sure that it's correct.
One question's just come in there, Annette, which is a really good question about, and we do this. So the question is, do you offer a service where you can advise the practice as a whole and then also individuals? And absolutely very happy to do that. We can set that up very easily and either do a little mini webinar like this and do a Q&A into the practice, or we can do it on Teams, or we can even come and visit as you prefer. Clearly, people have very different needs depending on who they are in the practice and what their background is, etc. But we're looking at ways of serving. Everyone needs help and advice in different ways. So we're looking at ways we can do that across the piece. So very happy to do that. Yes, is the answer.
And most practices, they have different people. They're at different stages in their careers. So it's not something that it's just somebody that's approaching retirement that can look at planning. Is that correct, Peter?
Yeah, exactly right. That's right. Because often people will come into all sorts of life changes for different reasons. And yeah, we'll advise in different ways, even from just people putting ISAs away to making sure they've got enough prepared for pension. So yeah, we talk to people all across the decades, different age groups. And in fact, a lot of our advisors are equally from those generations, from those younger generations, as well, which is super helpful because they really understand and get it.
I'm not sure that we're going to get any questions, so I think we'll end the session here. Thank you for those that have joined us. If you do have any questions, then by all means contact myself, contact Kay, whoever is your normal contact. If you've not don't have a contact at Duncan and Topless, then by all means contact Peter.
Yeah.
Our details are available.
Yeah,
thank you all for joining.
Yeah, sorry, Annette, just to say, it's very easy to go to the website and you'll get a contact number there, and you can or through Duncan and Topless and ask for either Adam Thompson or me, by all means, by name, and we'll come back to you. But thanks for listening. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, everybody.